Hello friends and strangers, I am Heli, and in this video I am taking you with me into our life, beginnings and always. In the last episode we started the game and met this creepy weird guy who was, I guess, standing around on a yard or something, or on the yard of the building we live in, and he wanted to give us money to befriend his son. Apparently he's Cove's father, and they had just moved into this neighborhood, and he wanted Cove to make some friends. Well, I thought offering the money to us was really creepy and turned him down. And he told us that actually his son is missing. He doesn't know where he's gone to, and he asked us to tell him to come back home if we happen to see him. And that's where we are continuing from right now. Apparently, we have decided to check the hills behind our house. Ooh, step 1, first sight. The chirping of crickets in the tall grass greeted you, quiet and familiar. From the top of the hill, you could see the ocean. As you walked, you listened to the crash of the waves on the shore and the seagulls squawking as they settled down for the night. You've always loved the ocean. It was so much fun. You loved to hear stories about the sea, about merfolk and sea serpents. You imagined living far beneath the waves. You didn't enjoy the beach all that much, especially the sand, which got absolutely everywhere. Well, I think we are a bit of a creative, imaginative child, and I'm going to pick the you love to hear the stories about the sea. Sometimes you could almost convince yourself you had seen the flash of a shiny mermaid's tail in the distance. You took in a deep breath. You wanted to try to relax and couldn't. You weren't sure what, but something told you that you weren't alone, so you glanced around. There was a boy sitting at the top of one hill, almost completely hidden within the long grass and white flowers surrounding him. His head was buried in his knees, staring ahead by himself. For whatever reason, probably just that he wasn't paying attention, he hadn't noticed you yet. You watched him a minute longer, feeling a little bit like you'd found a deer in the wild. Though deer didn't have green hair, wavy eyebrows, huge glasses, pink casts, sad frowns. Well, Cove's father did mention that Cove has a pink cast, and I think we'd remember that. So, deer didn't have pink casts, but this new boy did. You wondered how he got it. After a few more seconds, you took a step forward, then another, and then he glanced your way. His aquamarine eyes reflected the light of the moon. You stopped, raising a hand to acknowledge him and show you weren't scary. Hi. Hey, Space Cadet. Are you lost? Well, I think I'm just gonna say hi. With a start, he jumped to his feet, his hands balling into fists at his sides. He didn't say anything, just stared at you in a strange way. He'd been crying. There were traces of tears on his cheeks and his knees, soaking the hem of his shorts, and his eyes were still shining with a few more. You'd obviously caught him off guard. His pink cast seemed to glow in the twilight, though when he caught you staring at it, he hid his arm behind his back. Something the man earlier had said stuck out to you. Cove? Ah. Eyes wide, he studied you. How do you know that? I met your dad. I'm all-knowing. Lucky guess. I met your dad.
Oh.
So is this your hill? He gestured with his uninjured arm to the patch of grass surrounding you, his face falling at the prospect. Some of the text is quite hard to see when the background of the text is so see-through. I can leave if it is. Yep, you can't own a hill. You shook your head. You can't own a hill. Why not? How could you? You just do. I had a hill back home. Well, this still isn't mine. Oh. He sat back down with a thump, resting his chin on his knees again. Curious about the strange new boy with the odd dad. Yeah, to put it mildly. His dad is very weird. You sat on the patch of grass next to him. The pure white flowers that covered this hill rocked back and forth gently as the stars twinkled above. The way they dotted the sky made them seem like flowers too. The night wind was cool as it traveled over the ocean and up the hill, chasing away the heat from the afternoon sun. Why are you here? Why did your family move? Why are you here? A quiet hiccup escaped Cove as soon as you asked the question. Almost like they'd never stopped, his tears started up again with a vengeance. My parents. They don't want to live together with me anymore. The tears fell fast and heavy over his flushed cheeks, sticking in his dark lashes. My mom made my dad leave, and he took me with him, and now we have a house here, and I want to go home. The outburst took you off guard. By the time he was done wailing, Cove's chest was heaving with exhaustion. He sniffled and removed his glasses, wiping at his eyes with the back of his hand before he put them back on again. I hate this place. I want my real life back. I want my mom. I'm sorry. Your dad seems kinda nice. You'll like it here. You'll just have to get used to it. Stop crying. Well, I'm sorry. He slipped his hands underneath his glasses and pressed his fingers against his eyelids. Cove wound himself up again for another long crying fit. You felt bad for him, being forced to come here with no choice. You couldn't imagine what it would feel like to live with only one of your moms, but it must be pretty hard. But from way off in the distance, you heard your parents. Hazel!
Cove?
Kids, where did you go? Cove looked at you, tears still clinging to his cheeks. Don't tell him we're here.
I want to go home.
I don't want to go back to that house. I want to go home. You can handle it. You have to go. Don't worry so much. Sorry, I have to. It'll be okay. They are worried and looking for us. Sorry, I have to. Stretching as you stood, you tilted your head back down to look at Cove. I can't lie to my moms about where you are, you know? And they're gonna tell him. Slowly, Cove stood up with you, still looking a little reluctant. His dad's voice rang out again. Cove, can you hear me? He looked forward to the sound of his dad's voice, silent, then turned away while rubbing his not bandaged arm.
Sorry.
I still don't want to go. You called out yourself. You waited silently. You tried to convince him. Let's try to convince him. Are you sure? You'd have to stay outside the whole night and sleep on wet grass. Before Cove could say anything else, you heard his dad's voice again, even closer than before. There you are, Bard. The trio of parents appeared over the curve of the hill. Instantly, all their eyes landed on you, and they rushed over. Both of your moms were at your side in a split second, faces filled with worry. Hazel, you're here after all. We had been at the park to check for Cove and then heard what happened earlier when you met the new neighbor. I thought you might have gone off further away. No, we were just sitting in the grass. Why is everybody acting like this is such a big thing? We're okay, don't worry. Cove didn't want to go home just yet. Let's say we're okay, don't worry. Thank God you're both fine. Were you two having fun out here? You looked over at Cove, who was wiggling against his dad's tight hug and pushing at his arms. You shrugged. Yes, I like him. He's good. I think I'm gonna marry him. You didn't think that was the right word to describe it, but weren't sure what else to say to your moms. Finally letting go of his squirming, scowling son, Cove's dad turned to the three of you.
That's a relief.
Thanks very much for finding him. I really don't know this neighborhood. Good thing Hazel knows this whole area so well. Absolutely. We should be getting home now. It's been a long day for us all. Say goodbye, Cove.
Bye.
The two of them walked off into the darkness, heading toward the neighborhood. You watched Cove's bright pink cast until it disappeared. Tell you what, we'll have a proper playdate tomorrow, okay? your new friend's dad wanted to bring him by to see you and Lizzie. How does that sound? Sure. Sounds like words. You nodded. Well, let's just nod. Both of your moms laughed, the sounds overlapping into a warm, familiar chorus. Mummy put her arm around your shoulder and led you towards the path. Satisfied and more than a little ready to go to bed after your long, exciting day, you followed them home. Alright, choose your feelings for Cove. This is how you feel towards Cove for this step. It can change in later steps. We don't really know him, so I guess we're indifferent. And we don't really know him, so I guess we are also a bit nervous. Nervous indifference. Yes. Early the next morning, you were poking at your food, eating it slowly. Your sister Lizzie had run out earlier to go play, but you'd stayed put. Today, just like your moms had promised, Cove was coming over to hang out. Excited to see your new friend again, Hazel? I guess.
Okay.
With that said, are you done with your breakfast? Yeah? Haha, do you know, am I? Your bowl was entirely empty, so you nodded. Yeah. With all the exasperation an 8-year-old can muster, you looked at your empty cereal bowl, then at Mom.
Okay.
Okay, attitude kid. We see. Good job. He should be here soon. Cleanup began, and then, on cue, there was a knock. It was hesitant, like the person wasn't sure they were in the right place. Still loud, though. We need to get a more obvious doorbell. I know. Hazel, could you get it? Because Mom said so, you wandered over to the door. Hey, Meadowsweet family. Thanks for having us. Mr. Holden, as your moms have called him, and his son were here. Cove looked different in the bright lighting of your living room, and when he wasn't crying. With his dad standing in front of him and Mom and Mummy behind you, you and Cove looked at each other. You studied Cove apathetically. This was the parents' plan, not yours. Not seeming any more excited than you were, he just stared back. You twisted the threaded bracelet on your wrist, crystal bead bracelet, flower bead bracelet, or shell bracelet. Let's have a flower bead bracelet. Do you want to go play in your room, Hazel? Sure. So, my room is this way.
Okay.
Take care.
Let us know if you need anything, you two. Have fun, kids.
See you.
See you later, son. Play nice. You led him to your room, puffing out your chest a little bit at the sight of your treasures. There were lots of stuffed animals, a cool bed, a window to look out. It was a great room. You hadn't had anyone to show it to in a while, but you were really proud of it. He leaned in a little closer to one of your drawings on the wall. I like this. Me too. I drew that. Thank you. I don't. Thank you. You're welcome. You smiled at him. You were proud of that particular piece of art, and you were glad he noticed it. He turned to look around the room a little more, studying the books on your desk and the pictures on the walls. You started to feel a bit nervous. You felt the atmosphere was kind of awkward. You were glad for the company, or you hoped he liked your room. Well, let's hope he likes it. You had put a lot of effort into making your room as nice as it was. You hoped he didn't say anything bad about it. Then his eyes landed on the tiny box of beach things you'd collected, tucked away by your door. He took a step towards it, before hesitating and pointing at it instead. What's that? A hoard of stuff I found on the beach.
Oh.
Do you have any driftwood in there? Dragging the box into the middle of the room, you and Cove flopped down next to it. Yeah. You gestured to a piece at the bottom, still covered with specks of sand.
Neat.
This is a good collection. You got the sense from the tone of his voice that he wasn't just saying it to be nice, or to be like Sheila. He actually meant it. Ah, Sheila's coming over. Sheila? My sister's friend. He wants to, meet you. Do I have to see him? It'll be okay, I think. Here, I found this shell in a log, and you pulled out seashell after seashell, explaining where you'd gotten each one and holding them up against the light. There were big ones, small ones, pink, purple, and orange ones. Most of them you washed off in the bathroom sink when you brought them home, cleaning off the sand. Over the past few years, you'd even learned some of their scientific names. The collection was so huge and varied that you had lots of funny stories to tell for all of them. Your voice faltered a little bit, but you kept going as best you could. Well, let's continue being imaginative and creative and tell some stories. Apparently fascinated either by the stories or by the shells themselves, Cove listened with what looked like the full force of his attention. Like when you almost got pinched by a hermit crab while searching for shells, and after watching him scuttle back into the ocean, you found another empty shell that was almost a twin to his home. It was a new experience to be the center of such dedicated focus, even if it was only directed at the shells. Kids, come down to the living room. You could tell the idea was making him unhappy, but Mommy wasn't giving you much of a chance to hang around. Cove hadn't been like this meeting you. You guessed it was because he thinks you found each other by accident, not that a parent made it happen. Mr. Holden must be right that telling Cove his dad was part of that would be a bad idea. Before you knew it, you'd both been escorted downstairs and deposited in the living room, ready for Sheila's visit. The two of you sat side by side on the floor of your home's entryway. I brought the box of shells. I want to keep looking at them. Great. Okay, but be careful. You should have asked. Great. Bust it open. We can keep looking while we wait for Sheila. Cove reached in and pulled out a big orange shell. Oh. Like he hadn't spoken aloud yet, he turned to you and held it up, his eyes shining. I think this one's the best of them. That's my favorite too. I like a different one best. You can take it. Well, seeing as he's new and he's kind of having a tough time, I think we should be sympathetic and say you can take it. Cove looked at you in surprise, his eyes going wide. Really? Sure, you like it a lot, right? Uh-huh, but I don't want to take it from you. It's okay. You got the impression he was hesitant to accept something because he didn't know you very well. You insisted, you let it go. Let's insist. No, it's okay for you. You pushed the shell against Cove's chest, willing him to receive the present, but Cove firmly shook his head and kept his arms tightly at his sides. It was a battle you couldn't win, at least not today. Cove was your neighbor now. Maybe you could give it to him another time. The two of you were still sitting on the floor, looking through your collection of beach findings, when the doorbell finally rang. Cove jumped, startled by the sound. Since the person hadn't knocked, you figured it was probably Sheila. He knew where to look for that. Lizzie's friend? You nodded, but that didn't seem to make Cove feel better. It was already obvious that Cove didn't hide his feelings well. You could tell what he was thinking right away. This isn't a good idea. I'm sorry, there's nowhere to go. He's at our only door, and if you go upstairs, he'll find you. Cove glanced around the room, his eyes wide, and finally paused with his gaze locked onto the back of the house. I can go out the window. He was already walking towards it. Scrambling to think of something to say, you stepped forward and then paused. Do you want to break your other arm? Sheila is the least scary person alive. Cheer up, Sheila's gonna like you. Please don't get hurt. I'll come with you. Good idea. Please don't get hurt. I'm worried. What if something happens? The distance from the first floor living room window wasn't far, but you could tell it made Cove nervous anyway. He touched the cast on his arm. The wind had clearly released from his sails. I don't want to break any more bones. I don't think anyone wants to. Yeah. But I don't want to see him. I don't know him. You teased him, you comforted him, you encouraged him. Let's comfort him. You're right. Meeting new people is really hard. I'm sorry. Thanks. Sheila poked his head into the living room. It was impossible to know for sure if he'd heard what you'd been saying or not, but you guessed that he had.
Hi.
Hi, Hazel. And hi, Cove. Cove shot you an uneasy glance.
Hi.
I'm Sheila. It's nice to meet you. Yeah. You have a lot of freckles. Right, I do. What are you guys doing? We're looking at shells.
Can I do it too?
Cove shrugged, then looked back at your box of beach findings. What about that one? The plan for the afternoon, at least as far as you were concerned, was to sit and look at the beach things some more. You weren't really in the mood to do much anything else. You held out a recent find to Cove, a scallop shell that had washed up on shore. It's a pretty color, kinda like my cast. The beautiful glittering pink did look a little bit like the wrap around his arm. Pink is a nice color. Okay.
Oh?
Is it your favorite? Not really. What is? Maybe green or blue. It might be yellow. Oh, those are all cool.
I guess.
I like those colors too. There are better colors. Not sure how to deal with the suddenly more awkward silence. You looked back at your shells. I like those colors too.
Awesome.
Like usual, it didn't take long for Sheila to get fidgety. Lizzie was his favorite. Without her around, Sheila didn't seem to know what to do with himself. And Cove wasn't like your sister. He wasn't that much like you either. Is Lizzie coming back? Don't know.
Aw.
Where'd she go? I think she's at the beach, probably. Is she playing at her park? Cove's eyes lit up at the mention of the park, and he looked towards you. There's a park? Yep, but it's old. Can you show me? I wanna go. He started getting up before you had even answered, and Sheila jumped up beside him in excitement. Really? You do too, right, Hazel? The park is fun. I love it. The park is pretty great. No. Let's say the park is pretty great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's right at the beach. So there's lots of fun stuff to do and lots of sand. It has a jungle gym and a bunch of swings. That sounds like it could be cool. So, are we going to find Lizzie? I don't know. I never really wanted to see her. I just want to check the park out. Adrift without any direction, Sheila finally turned to you. Okay. He perked up. Both boys wanted to go. It was only fair. Alright. Apparently we are going to the park. But let's save here for now and continue from this point next time. So if you like this video, please leave it a like And if you'd like to support my efforts here on YouTube, please subscribe to my channel, Gentle Gaming for Wellness. It is quick and easy, and it doesn't cost you a thing, but it does help me a lot. Thanks so much for watching. I wish you a lovely rest of your day, and I hope I'll see you in the comments below.